know?
Welcome to episode 22 of RKO.
You didn't know?
That was Russell you just heard. I'm Kayvon. Thank you for listening to our podcast yet again. We're happy you're with us. Russell, a few things I would like to discuss. Briefly, I'd like to mention that I attended Monday Night Raw last night in Cincinnati, Ohio. Thought it was a decent Raw. The crowd was obviously hot for Dean Ambrose being the hometown guy. I thought the United States Championship Open Challenge match that John Cena had with Neville was the best match of the night. I think it looked like Neville was about to beat John Cena after he hit the second red arrow until Rusev came in and interfered. Fun atmosphere, good show. The energy was good, and even from what I've watched back on TV, the crowd did seem lively. Sometimes you get some of those Raw crowds that are kind of dead. This was a really decent crowd, I thought. So I had a fun time at Monday Night Raw last night in Cincinnati. Russell, this Sunday is the WWE Payback pay-per-view emanating from Baltimore, Maryland. We have our matches signed, like the Fatal 4-Way for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. Not too many matches actually already signed. I expect some to be announced on SmackDown this week to round out the pay-per-view. I, however, have a few matches that I would like to see, or I kind of would assume that the matches that are yet to be announced for the pay-per-view would kind of be like. I'll start by saying there's no Divas title match that has been officially named for the Payback pay-per-view yet. I picked what I would like to see would be, considering how things went at Extreme Rules and with Brie Bella in Nikki's corner and Brie more or less interfering in the match and helping Nikki retain the title at Extreme Rules, I would like to see Naomi face Nikki Bella again in a rematch, but this time, and now that Naomi has Tamina as her bodyguard, I would like to see Brie Bella banned from the corner of Nikki Bella, kind of evening things out and giving the advantage to Naomi this time around and seeing how Nikki Bella fares, because Nikki Bella has been the Divas champion since Survivor Series. So you're talking, I guess, almost 7 months now, which is a pretty long reign. So my prediction, or I guess the match I'd want to see as far as the way we're going, would be Naomi challenging the Divas champion, Nikki Bella, with Brie banned from ringside, but Tamina allowed in the corner of Naomi. Russell, any thoughts on the potential Divas match at Payback?
I think you might see a tag match for the full involved. They may go with that. Then again, there may be, with circumstances outside of wrestling happening with Daniel Bryant, Brie Bella maybe taking some time off to be with her husband. Again, just until they find out exactly what's going on. So, they might have her in an injury storyline or something like that. I kind of like what's going on with the Divas division right now. No, there's not many in the, that are worthy to watch. But I do like that, Naomi is finally getting, her dues. She's worked a long time for it. And I believe she would have probably been champion if it wouldn't have been for that unfortunate accident with her eye, quite some time ago. I think she would have already probably had the Diva title. So, yeah, I kind of agree with that assessment. Maybe if they don't do a tag match, a one-on-one, but Anita Snuka probably will definitely interfere in some capacity. So, see that happening.
Cool. All right. Well, the next thing I want to see with this Bray Wyatt and Ryback feud, I picked an Inferno match. I picked an Inferno match because Ryback has never been in a match like that in his career as Ryback so far. I also picked an Inferno match because if you rewind back to SummerSlam 2013, when Bray Wyatt fought Kane in an Inferno match, Kane was gone for a long time after that. And when he returned, he was a different character. Now, whether or not that was a good turn or bad turn, I think, Russell, you and I can both agree that Ryback has, I guess, kind of been on the fence as to whether or not he's on the path to really becoming the main event star he could have been, or if he's just going to live in, the mid-card world for the rest of his career, or lower even. But, I think if he lost an Inferno match to Bray Wyatt and then went away for a little while, they could bring him back with a new edge to his character, something different. I think it would be a good chance to revitalize Ryback. I think Bray Wyatt needs the win. I think Bray Wyatt loses too much. And I think it could be a good chance to do something interesting with Ryback. And he's never, like I said, been in a match like an Inferno match in his career. Russell, any thoughts on the Bray Wyatt-Ryback feud going on right now?
Well, let me ask you this. Why an Inferno match? Why would that make sense for his character?
Well,
I think Kane.
Yeah. Well,
but why Bray Wyatt?
I say Inferno match for Bray Wyatt because, like I said, first my mind went to his Inferno match with Kane. Bray Wyatt is a very devilish character. And obviously the Inferno match, you think Kane, you think Undertaker. But, I also think Bray Wyatt is the new generation of that type of character. From the depths of, Bray Wyatt coming from the depths of wherever. And so he's a very dark character. And I think an Inferno match sets him. I mean, what's more brutal than setting your opponent on fire? And I think Bray Wyatt fits that match type really well. So that was my reasoning there for the Inferno match.
I could see some type of gimmick match between the two. I don't know about an Inferno. I just don't know how they would go about with if they're going to take Ryback out and redevelop his character. Maybe to me, maybe a stretcher match or maybe, some type of buried alive match or something like that. I can see the gimmick match as what you're going with. So I guess my question is, so you feeling that Ryback is already stale as a character since he's been kind of given a little bit of a push?
I think this year, I think from Fastlane in February on, I think actually Ryback has had a resurgence. And I think he's actually been moving up. But it just looks like, and actually he was in that triple threat match after WrestleMania with Roman Reigns and Randy Orton to determine who was going to face Seth Rollins for the WWE title at Extreme Rules. But it just seems like, he didn't win that, and I just don't see them really pushing him for the main event scene. And maybe it's because they feel like they messed up with him. They don't really know where to go with him. So maybe if they have faith in Ryback, they're letting him cut promos now, which aren't really that bad. The crowd's kind of harsh on him depending where they are. But actually he has a really good story. And so I think if you find a way to twist that somehow and just refresh his character by him going away for a little while, thanks to, and I totally agree, it doesn't have to be an Inferno match, but a gimmick match, like a Buried Alive match or anything like that, something that would explain him being away for an X amount of time. You could bring him back, and then, Ryback can dominate again, because I really think they have something with Ryback. He's got a really good catchphrase, and the fans and the kids love him. They really do. So
Well, with the resurgence of, we've seen last night, basically, Bray Wyatt's henchmen, if you want to call them that, have, gotten back together, which I love to see those two as, a tag team. And so, they could interfere and cost Ryback the match. So I can see that happening. Maybe we get the Wyatt family reunion. There's been talk of a Shield reunion, but and the internet buzz. But I wouldn't mind seeing a Wyatt family reunion. Them taking out Ryback. That's kind of what I was hoping for with the Wyatt family when they first came in, was them kind of doing like the Ministry of Darkness did with Undertaker. Defeating a big character, and you didn't see him for a while. When you did finally see him come back, they were either part of the Ministry under a dark, character, or they were, totally different than what you've seen the last time. So, maybe we might get that, and that would kind of set that up for Ryback.
Yeah, I agree. I'm surprised, honestly, that the Wyatt family didn't have a longer run anyways. So, who knows? With Eric Rowan and Luke Harper back together, they could bring the Wyatt family back around full circle. And I totally expect to see some form of a Shield reunion. I don't expect to see it that soon, but I definitely see it down the road. And then, the Wyatt family versus the Shield going at it again, I think would be wonderful, especially after those characters have gone off on their own and developed, singles personalities. One other thing for Payback, that this definitely is more of a fantasy one. I really can't see them doing this, but I think it would be smart business. I know they already have their pre-show match signed with Axelmania and Macho Mandow versus the Ascension. I think what would be a great move and a great step in promoting not only NXT as a brand, but NXT has they're not on pay-per-view, but they're called like NXT Specials, NXT TakeOver, coming up on May 20th. So the week after, or it's the week of, but just a few days after Payback. I would like to see an NXT showcase match, either on the pre-show or on the pay-per-view itself. I'd say you get your NXT champion, Kevin Owens, teaming with the NXT tag team champions, Blake and Murphy, who are all heels, and you have them go up against Finn Balor, who, with Sami Zayn after his shoulder injury, his status unknown, and Hideo Itami out for 6 to 8 months now with an injury himself. Finn Balor is the top face in NXT, looking to go for the NXT championship against Kevin Owens. So you get the heel NXT champion, the heel NXT tag team champions against Finn Balor, presumably your number one face right now, who is active in NXT, teaming with the tag team of Colin Cassidy and Enzo Amore, and you can get Carmella there in their corner too. So I think it does a lot of things. It brings more awareness to NXT for people who haven't watched the show yet. Russell, I know you don't watch it that much, but every time you've seen NXT stuff, you've enjoyed it, right, Russell?
I have, and I think with John Cena showcasing a couple of the guys coming from NXT, Neville and Sami Zayn, coming in and putting on heck of matches, it kind of intriguing of what is going on with NXT. That may be the next mainstream that that they're going to go with. They are promoting Tough Enough a lot now. And, if you can get a little bit more awareness for NXT, telling these guys or girls that are coming on Tough Enough that they're going to get a chance to go to NXT to compete for a contract and so forth, then, it gives them more opportunity to start bringing some of these NXT wrestlers and divas up to the main stage.
Exactly. That's what I mean. So I know it's not going to happen most likely, but I think it would be a cool thing. Russell, anything before we move on to the Elimination Chamber event? Anything else for Payback or any? I know we're going to post for any of you listening. We do this thing where we post our predictions for each pay-per-view, usually early on the day of the show, where Russell and I go match by match and we do our predictions and we add up some points and just to see who got the most predictions right or whatnot. It's just totally for fun, but it's just kind of a out of curiosity thing. And so we will every day, the day of a pay-per-view, just check the RKO You Didn't Know page on Facebook, which we'd love you to check out and like and participate in. We post our predictions on there for the pay-per-view, so check that out. So I know we're going to be posting our predictions, Russell, but is there anything for Payback you'd like to add? I mean, for me, I'll just say that it seems like the term you like to use mainly, it's going to be a throwaway.
You know, this is one of these pay-per-views that you really, you don't kind of know if something happens unexpectedly. Like I said, I think they're already souring on Seth Rollins as champion. When you have to basically say it's Randy Orton versus all three members of the Shield, there's kind of speculation there. But this may be, where they play hot potato with the championship, maybe for the next month or two. Especially if Kane somehow gets involved. He's right now not on good terms with Seth Rollins, and if he costs Seth Rollins the match or does something to allow someone else to win, it doesn't make Seth Rollins look weak if they want to go back to Seth Rollins in a month. Ultimately, one of these four participants is going to end up facing Brock Lesnar when he comes back from suspension. And we know that's going to be at SummerSlam. That's what we hear. So, that's where you have to keep in mind which one of these four guys could come out with a win, and then at the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view that is only going to be held on the WWE Network that you can get for the low price of $9.99. So which one of these guys may be able to win, and then at that Elimination Chamber pay-per-view, it gets back to someone else. So even though we say it's a throwaway pay-per-view, there may be a surprise there. We have the I Quit match with John Cena and Rusev. Lana hasn't been around. That's kind of intriguing with what's going to happen with her. She's been spending a lot of time on social media, and she's been getting great reactions from the crowd. So it could be an intriguing pay-per-view setting up the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view at the end of the month.
That's right, and it was announced last night that the former February pay-per-view, Elimination Chamber, which was replaced this year to be Fastlane, is actually going to take place in between what we're going to see Sunday, Payback, and Money in the Bank June 14th, which is in Columbus, Ohio, which I'll be attending. Very excited about that. Elimination Chamber. It's going to be exclusively on the WWE Network, and it's not going to be carried on pay-per-view, from what I understand. So it's just going to be on the network, and it was basically a house show, I think, that they had scheduled. It's a Sunday, I believe. May 31st is a Sunday in Corpus Christi, Texas. They're turning it into the Elimination Chamber event. The arena in Corpus Christi, from what I understand, is an older arena that somehow could still house the Elimination Chamber structure. They had trouble finding a place that could hang the Elimination Chamber structure. I mean, that sucker's big. So this is, I think, somehow it worked out that it could happen in Corpus Christi. So you're throwing a wrench in the storyline where, if you think about it, May 17th, this Sunday, is Payback. June 14th, less than a month from this upcoming pay-per-view, is Money in the Bank. And in between, we're having Elimination Chamber. So essentially, we're having 3 pay-per-views in a very short amount of time, and I don't think that's ever happened. So it's going to be very interesting. Russell, about the Elimination Chamber event or pay-per-view or whatever we'd like to call it, if you haven't watched Raw last night or if you haven't heard, but if you're a wrestling fan, I'm sure you have, Daniel Bryan was on Raw for the first time on WWE TV for several weeks. Russell, would you kind of like to explain briefly what Daniel Bryan announced regarding his career in the Intercontinental Championship last night?
Well, we had talked about this when a couple podcasts before about him making his return and being worried that off of an injury that he had where he didn't have surgery, he basically, decided to let it heal itself, and we've seen how that has worked out for him. He can't be the wrestler he wants to be given the wear and tear on his body, especially with what he does in the ring, and it's unfortunate. But because of that, they pushed him at WrestleMania. They kind of gave him another shot to carry a mid-card championship like the Intercontinental belt to, bring prestigiousness back to it. And unfortunately, he ends up getting hurt again. And he has to relinquish the belt. This time, he doesn't know how long he's going to be out, or even if he can wrestle again. It's a sad day to see a wrestler with his talent and have to end his career if that's what ends up happening. We've seen it before with Edge, and many others, that have given us a lot of blood, sweat, and tears only to have their career cut short because of the wear and tear on their body that they put themselves through. So on the flip side of it, he has to relinquish his title, and because the title is up for grabs now, they are making the Elimination Chamber match on the WWE Network. And basically, we're going to have, a couple of guys compete for that vacant title. My intrigue is who will be the 6 participants in the Elimination Chamber, and why are those 6 participants? So, who do you think will be those 6 participants?
Here are my picks for the assumingly 6. I assume there's going to be 6, like before, like always before in the Elimination Chamber, fighting for the vacant Intercontinental Championship. I pick your 2015 King of the Ring, King Barrett, Dolph Ziggler, Neville, R-Truth, Sheamus, and Stardust. Now, obviously, Barrett and Sheamus and Ziggler and Neville those 4 men have been involved in singles matches and tag matches, all involving each other over the past several weeks. And seemingly, R-Truth and Stardust are in some sort of feud right now, and they were involved in the ladder match for the Intercontinental Championship at WrestleMania. So those, in my opinion, would be the smart picks for the 6 men vying for that vacant Intercontinental Championship in the Elimination Chamber. What do you think about that, Russell?
I see where you're coming from with those guys. I would like to see, instead of R-Truth and Stardust, because they haven't really been doing much on television, I would like to see Ryback and Bray Wyatt also in the Elimination Chamber.
Very interesting. Bray Wyatt has never held a singles championship in WWE. In fact, he's never held as Bray Wyatt any championship in WWE. That would be interesting. That would definitely be interesting. Just offhand, if that were the case, and the 6 men you mentioned replacing my R-Truth and Stardust with Bray Wyatt and Ryback, who would you expect to win? Do you see them taking the King of the Ring? In my opinion, if you let Barrett win the Intercontinental Championship in Elimination Chamber, that adds prestige to the King of the Ring. You know what I'm saying?
I agree. I think Wade Barrett right now is probably one of the better ones to have the title. Because he could end up having feuds with not only, with Ziggler as he is right now, but with Neville, Sheamus, Wade Barrett, and Sheamus would be a definite match I would like to see, the bro kick versus, Wade's full hammer. But I think if you threw Ryback and Wyatt in there, it just adds more intrigue because those two are feuding right now. What better way than to put them in this Elimination Chamber? If it's going to be a pay-per-view that's kind of not going to be sold on, pay-per-view, it's only going to be on the network. So they're going to have to do something to kind of make it more watchable. They're also having a tag team match. And the tag teams that I'm thinking they're going to go with, of course, will be probably New Day, Tyson Kidd and Cesaro. But I also think you may have the Wyatt family if they have the reunion there with those two.
Yeah, I agree. And I picked those 3 teams and the Lucha Dragons as well. My thinking being that this is the first ever tag team Elimination Chamber match and the first time the Intercontinental and tag team titles have been defended inside the Elimination Chamber structure. With the tag team titles and a tag team Elimination Chamber match, I guess the first thought that popped into my head was you have 4 guys start the match instead of 2, one representing one member from each team. And then their partner, one each, would be locked inside one of the 4 chambers. And obviously at random, one of their partners would be released. My only question would be, if that's the case, is it single elimination or double elimination? Meaning, and I guess it would be double, that both members of the team have to be pinned or submit to be eliminated from the match. So essentially you could have one member who has their partner, or one team who has one partner eliminated very early in the match, and then that guy carries throughout the rest of the match and basically wins the titles for the team. Does that make sense, Russell?
It does. I think right now the tag team division could really get a boost with some of these guys they're putting together. You have the Ascension now, have the Wyatt family, the New Day, Tyson Kidd and Cesaro.
And the new Mega Powers, Axelmania and Macho Mandow.
Yeah. What are you thinking on that?
I think that, I thought it was cool. I thought Damian Sandow does that really well, but at the same time, when I think of Damian Sandow, I thought we were over the imitation thing with him. I thought after the Miz's stunt double, to me, when he cut his promos after the Miz thing was over, he was kind of saying, this is my story, I'm going to be myself now. So I was surprised that he's out there imitating another character. But, if that's the road they're going to go, it makes sense. It's a fun thing, but is it just going to be like a like a fun thing that's not taken seriously, or are they going to be real contenders for the tag titles? That I don't know. You know?
So are you for it or against it?
Well, I'm not really sure. I mean, I haven't seen them wrestle together, and all we saw was what they did last night on Raw. My question to you is, could you see them being serious contenders in the tag team division?
I think that those two wrestlers have been given horrible booking since they both made their debut. You know, yeah, Mr. Perfect's son, okay, which says a lot. You know he's talented. I mean, he was a Paul Heyman guy there for a minute. That didn't get over. He was Intercontinental Champion. I think that if it's played right and the crowd gets behind it and they do it tastefully, meaning they're not mocking the guys, but they're actually, you know, paying tribute to them, I guess, then it may get over with the crowd. The crowd may eat it up. The funny thing is that we have joked about this happening with Damien Sandow. We have said to the forefront, why not have him be the Macho Man? And we laughed about it because we thought it was outrageous, but in a sense, we were maybe in the back of our minds hoping that they would do something as crazy as have him become the Macho Man, because he has the look. If he can pull off a stunt double and wrestling with himself outside the ring, I think him and Axelmania could go running wild in the WWE for at least the next year. I honestly think it could take off.
As serious competitors.
As serious competitors, if done right. If done right, I think they could.
Wow. Well, I guess time will tell. I mean, as far as what I could tell, being there live last night, the fans were eating it up. I think especially the older fans who, like you, Russell, who grew up in the era of the height of the popularity of the mega powers, Macho Man and Hulkamania, they get that and they like that. But even kids now who are just starting to watch wrestling, they know these guys from the video games. So I think it's something that a lot of people can jump on board with. So the question is the booking. How are they going to handle this? Is it going to be, I mean, a situation where it's not taken too seriously, meaning it's meant to be what it is. I mean, I get it. It's meant to be a funny thing, but I don't know. It's interesting. Can I see them beating the New Day? I mean, I guess so, because if you get a crowd so behind the quote new mega powers versus a team that has the most heat out of any team in the company right now, the New Day, the crowd could be really explosive for a match like that, if you think about it.
It's also going to come down to, and you were there live, so how it played live compared to how it was interpreted on television. The commentators, they bashed it pretty bad. And that's a shame, because, like I said, here's two guys that have all the talent in the world and just have been given crazy booking. I mean, they're having to take their characters that they're given and make do with it. And you got a guy that, like Curtis Axel, I think he's a third-generation wrestler. His dad was Mr. Perfect. Coming out and doing the Axelmania gimmick. And that got over with the crowd because it was funny. But he's being serious. He's not trying to be funny. Now you have Damien Sandow who is
You
now,
you don't think Axelmania? You don't think Curtis Axel's trying to be funny with the Axelmania gimmick?
I don't think he knows it's funny, but I don't think he's trying to be funny with it. He still wants to be considered serious, you know. Don't turn the channel, you know. On the same page, how long is it going to last? Is it going to be, you know, something that's funny for a couple of weeks and then it gets old? Or, you know, are they going to be able to run with it? And I think with the two that are involved, that they've had worse gimmicks or worse booking than this and have succeeded, especially Damian Sandow, you know, because he can pull it. If anybody can pull it off, he can pull it off. The dude wrestled himself. He can pull it off. You know, I would love to see him get the tag title because, like I said, the tag division right now, there really isn't a dominant force. You know, the New Day, they're going with the heat right now. And if you can take the Mega Powers, the new Mega Powers, and going against New Day, then so be it. I think already Tyson Kidd and Cesaro, I think they're already ran their course. I think Cesaro is better as a individual wrestler.
Wow, that's funny you said that because you were really high on Cesaro and Tyson Kidd.
And the shame part about it is I think they've already ran their course. When you let the New Day beat them, then you're already sour on that team, and that's a shame because those guys, both of them, you know, worked hard to come up with, you know, tag team moves. And Natalya she's hot, so you know she comes out, and I enjoy watching her. But
we know you do, Russell.
I just think that I would rather see right now. I would rather see Cesaro be given a individual push, you know, for an Intercontinental match. I would love to see him go, you know, be called on against John Cena if John Cena continues to be the United States champion and have Cesaro challenging, because I think that would be a heck of a match.
Well, if after Payback this Sunday, Cesaro and Kidd aren't successful in their 2 out of 3 Falls matches and recapturing the tag titles from the New Day, maybe the group will split up, and maybe Tyson and Kidd and Cesaro will end up being 2 of the men fighting for the Intercontinental Championship inside the Elimination Chamber. Personally, I think they're going to be together longer than that, but who knows? I mean, they could still be a tag team and be involved in that Intercontinental Championship Elimination Chamber match. It was also announced that the WWE World Heavyweight Championship and United States Championship will be decided not in the chamber structure, but at the Elimination Chamber special event. Personally, I expect to see Randy Orton out of the world title picture after this pay-per-view, at least for a while. And I see Seth Rollins probably going up against Roman Reigns and Dean Ambrose. Or is it time for just that straight-up triple threat between the former Shield members? And as far as the United States title goes, I don't know exactly who I would want to see face Cena. But, I mean, as far as match quality goes, I would think Sami Zayn, if he was well, or Adrian Neville. But, you know, those are both guys. Sami Zayn's from Canada, Neville is from the UK, and I don't think they're looking to turn either of those guys heel. And I think if you have a non-USA guy going up against Cena, you might inadvertently turn them heel. But they're smart, I think, enough to know that, you know, that would turn either of those guys heel. So I don't know exactly who would go up against Cena. They're billing his match with Rusev Sunday at Payback as their final encounter. So it could be interesting to see what happens with the U.S. title after the situation with Rusev is over Sunday. But yeah, Russell, any final thoughts on Chamber, Payback, or anything else before we end this episode that you'd like to mention?
I just think that you may, in the next month, with the pay-per-views being so close, this would actually give an opportunity for the WWE to flop that championship to another guy and flop it right back, without making too big of a stir, just to get a little bit of excitement for the pay-per-view.
To what guy? Dean Ambrose?
Either one, any of the four participants that are involved right now, and I could see something happening here at Payback with Kane being involved and either costing one of the participants, like costing Roman Reigns, that he has Seth Rollins beat and costing the match. And then you get a feud between Roman Reigns and Kane, that's been tossed. Or Kane actually just going full face and then going against the Authority.
Well, with you saying that, what just popped into my brain, and I guess I wouldn't be so surprised to see Kane, like you said, going face, and him end up maybe at Money in the Bank in June, facing Rollins for the title, and then you get Ambrose and Reigns in that Money in the Bank ladder match, to determine who's going to face Seth next, essentially. But I wouldn't be surprised to see Kane, a face Kane versus Rollins, one-on-one for the title in the coming months. Would you?
No, I think they may give Kane one more shot at the title. Ultimately, we know that right now, the way it looks, when Brock Lesnar comes back, he's going to be the champion again. I mean, so whoever goes the pay-per-view before SummerSlam, whoever is the champion, that's going to be who's facing Brock Lesnar. And I just think this is the opportunity to say, okay, we gave Seth Rollins, the WrestleMania moment. He's had the title for 2 months. Let's flip it to Ambrose, or let's flip it to, Reigns, and for 2 weeks, and then an Elimination Chamber, Rollins gets it back. They did that with Mankind or Mick Foley and The Rock for a solid month. Those guys changed titles every Monday.
Yeah.
So it just, it adds a little bit of drama there that, hey, he loses at Payback, that he gains it back at Elimination Chamber. That gets more people wanting to watch the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view. And then, back to the Money in the Bank pay-per-view after that, it can be flipped again. This is the opportunity with a month for them to play with a potential of, okay, we gave this guy 2 months to run with it. Let's give this guy, a week or two to see how the crowd reacts. And if the crowd is accepting him now, we can take it to, Money in the Bank. If they don't, we can do a change back and elimination, and that will get people watching and seeing a title change on our pay-per-view. I think this would be a great opportunity for them to do that.
Right. Well, I guess we'll see, because the next month or so is going to be a very busy, eventful time for WWE. Don't forget to check out our predictions for this Sunday's WWE Payback pay-per-view exclusively on our Facebook page, RKO You Didn't Know. Like it. Comment on the post. Engage in conversations so that we know your opinions. Our opinions aren't the only opinions that matter. We are simply providing a platform for you to branch off to, so we can hear what you're thinking. We're very curious to know how you feel about the subjects we're covering, or let us know what we should be talking about in wrestling that we're not. we really want to hear your voice as well. So like us on Facebook. Thank you for listening to our podcast in the iTunes Store, Podomatic.com, Stitcher Radio. We really appreciate the support. We enjoy doing this. I believe that's it for our episode 22. It's Tuesday, May 12th, 2015. We'll see you in 2 weeks with episode 23, which will be right before the Elimination Chamber event. Don't forget to check out NXT TakeOver on May 20th. I'm a huge fan of NXT. If you haven't watched it, I really recommend giving it a chance. It's, in my opinion, the best show WWE produces every week. Yes, even better than Raw, in my opinion. So check that out. And Russell, do you want to take us home for this episode?
Yeah, for Kayvon, I'm Russell. You've listened to episode 22 of RKO. You didn't know? We'll see you in a couple weeks.
Thanks, everyone.
You didn't know?